Oh, it's 8:30. Hey there.
Hey, how's it
So
going?
I just have to tell you the really funny thing. I shouldn't be saying this, but I'll say it anyway. So as I was
Okay.
saying before we just came on, I was watching the Chris Rock tambourine special on
Mhm.
Netflix, which I love Chris Rock. He just talk about keeping it real. He keeps it real, and he's funny.
Yeah.
But he's talking about, he said, the part where he says nerds rule the world, right? You know, and then but then he said, he was making fun of like Mark Zuckerberg and all the names. Of course, I won't go into names because some of them are a little foul. But then he said, he came up with the name Facebook when someone hit him in the face with a book. I just cracked up. It was like, it's just who thinks of this stuff, right? Only Chris Rock can come up with those lines.
Because what else? How else could it have come about? I mean,
Hey, you never know, right? You never know. But it's just, yeah, it was funny. He was funny. He was talking about Bill Gates and like people like that, and um, but it's true. You think about the people that are, the most successful people are the smartest people. Even just across the board. I mean, they are tend to be a little nerdy or creative geniuses
eccentric,
or savants or whatever, right?
eccentric.
Or
Just
eccentric, yeah.
you know, I'm trying to maximize our coverage
Oh
here,
yeah.
and we've got two folks with us. Good evening, and thank you for joining. As always, Real Talk with Kelly and Karl.
yes.
Our conversation tonight is about Real Talk. So I'm getting this message on the Real Talk page about the new Facebook Pages experience. Have you seen that?
Okay. Yeah.
Did you say okay, get started?
No. I heard you. Yeah, I
Colleen just
heard
saw
you.
you on TV. Very good, she said.
Oh, thank you, Colleen. Yeah, I did the Hometown Health Connection show.
Oh, cool
Oh,
beans.
yeah.
I just want to share the stream, Karl. I don't want to do anything new because the last time I did something new, hey
Right,
Colleen, I messed everything up and we couldn't go live for
right,
a couple weeks.
right,
So I don't want that to be
right.
I don't want that to be there.
Yeah. So we're working out some kinks here with the new platform, ladies and gents.
So if next week you try to find us and we're not here, it just
We're working on it. It's a work in progress, like it has been since day one. But anyway, as we try to work through this, I will say it's all about keeping it real.
always.
We do that all the time. That's what we do best.
I'm telling you, man, it just bananas. So our conversation tonight is actually about why we keep it real. We always do, but why do we keep it real? What's the need? Why not, front and talk about stuff we don't know about or take perspectives that aren't ours? Um,
Or talk about things that really, I don't want to say don't matter, but are just fluffy.
right.
I mean,
And
we've done a little fluffy stuff. I mean, talking about movies, but still, still applies to our theme.
well, and it's still very much real talk, right? It's still very, it is as it relates to mental health. I mean, everything, no matter what the conversation is, always circles around mental health. It just,
Yeah.
but that's our focus. That's the background. That's the voice.
Right.
That's the reason for the real talk.
Yeah. I thought of it because, and I'll tell you why. I kind of had this idea for tonight. I've been thinking a lot about, and this has come up actually. I was actually in a Clubhouse room a couple times with a guy named Tom Singer, and Tom is a podcaster, and he's part of the National Speaker Association. And anyway, I connect with him. We connected the other day. We actually did a little Zoom, whatever. But one of the things he called his room "Conversations Don't Have Scripts."
Okay.
I love that idea, right? Because that's what we do every week.
Right.
I told him, so when I was talking to him the other day, I said, well, that's what, my friend Kelly and I do for our Facebook Live. We don't have any script. We go in with a basic idea and it just goes. And that's his point, was that's really, first of all, I think what people like, but also it's authentic. It's not contrived. So, when we do this, it's genuine. So,
and I think people, well, clearly this is real, because you can't make up the lack of conversation sometimes.
yeah. But I mean, and I thought about that a lot I don't know why, but this has really been something I've been thinking about even myself personally. The idea of authenticity, the idea of oh gosh, what's the term I'm trying to think of? Congruence.
Mm-hmm.
Being congruent. Yeah, I learned that term back in my counseling days. But the idea of the inside matching the outside.
Funny you should mention that, because I presented on Saturday at a conference, and it was a leadership conference through Impacting Love, and my topic was flavor. And it may not seem like it fits, but the definition of flavor is the indication of the character of a thing, right? And so you have the indication, is what we see or taste, of the character, which is the actual substance, right? So you have the external, the indication, and the internal character. And sometimes the flavor is off. Your flavor is off when the internal and external don't meet up. They're not the same.
Right.
And you can tell when the flavor is off, right? Even, with people, when you're dealing with folks, and like you could tell when the flavor is off. So that congruence, when something's not right, it's off.
Yeah.
And I think that would come through in our conversations, right? It would come through in, our stories. It would come through in, the things that we talk about our journeys, the recovery processes that, we've gone through, and what we've implemented in our lives. That would come through if it were incongruent.
And there is so much fake. I mean, I know we've heard, God, that term fake news was like overplayed for 4 years and still out there. But what I mean by, that inauthenticity that you find in a lot of media, even.
Right.
Whether it be with some celebrities, or certainly if you look at, many TV programs. My wife likes watching CSI and those kind of programs, and that's the kind of, or not NCIS, excuse me, NCIS.
Okay.
And always, it always ends with the good guys, taking down the bad guy, usually a little gunfight, whatever, a little gunplay, but I'm thinking to myself, does it really happen always like that? Probably not. But
that would be nice, though.
But it's considered to be entertainment.
Yeah, it would be nice if everything were smooth and.
Well, and granted, we need, we talked about before, we need entertainment, but I think that's also, it just paints this illusion of what life is like. And so I will give you a real world example, and this is actually kind of sad. Charles Maddox, who is the producer and director of the Reserve series I'm beyond, he posted on Facebook this video, and this was so sad. I had to watch it. It was like, I couldn't believe this. But a YouTube streamer. Not even she's like a has like a small following, whatever. But she makes a living on YouTube just by streaming.
Okay.
But the deal is, and this is going to sound horrible, but she was caught talking to someone, a young woman who had cancer, and she was making fun of the young woman with cancer, living with cancer. Making fun of how she looked, making fun of the fact she had a wig. And so what happened was, at another point, now mind you, it was recorded. I guess somehow somebody recorded the thing. somehow must have sent it to this, because it was actually this one YouTube channel that does these real things. They do these things anyway. So it said that, and it said, the caption said, on the next night or later that night, she fell asleep, but she was still streaming. Her father comes home and is yelling at her sister and saying some, I guess, private things or things that were, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they say what they were said, but what happened though was people who were watching reported it to her father's workplace. The dad ended up losing his job. No, wait, it gets even worse. This tells you how sick this young woman is. So he calls her, and you hear him screaming at her through the phone. She's still streaming this. Like, this is how narcissistic this person is. She's streaming it so like so that people can see this. And so finally it cuts, and then she's streaming herself calling the police, because I guess the dad had threatened to come home and kick her out of the house and everything. So she's on the phone with the dispatcher, oh, he's gonna come and he's gonna kick me out. And but then she says in the video, but I have money, I'm on YouTube, and I'm able to support myself. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So then it cuts again, and she's streaming herself going into the hotel room. Like it's like what? I'm like, and like I said, it was the kind of thing like a bad car wreck. I couldn't stop watching. It was only about 8.5 minutes. It wasn't like I spent hours. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts again, and it shows her father once again screaming at her through the phone, telling her what an awful person she is, how he lost his job, and she's still acting like she doesn't even care. And all the time she's streaming this to her so-called audience, or whoever the people are that follow. I'm just going like, this is what it's come to, Kelly.
Well, and that is a unfortunate repercussion of a lot of things that have occurred over the last couple decades. But
yeah,
the reality TV, and this actually reminds me of a Black Mirror episode. At least I think it's Black Mirror.
I've seen all of them. I got through them all. I watched
the one where people had the ratings. Anyways, guys, I digress. But
yeah.
But maybe it wasn't Black Mirror, but it was something similar to Black Mirror. But everyone had a rating, and it was based.
Oh yes. It was Black Mirror. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you meet someone, you see their rating, and you can like them, not like them, and that kind of. But she was trying to get into the new place, and she needed to have a rating so high, and yeah. That was amazing. And of course, what happened at the end, we don't want to spoil it, but yeah.
This is similar to that. It is. We are becoming so focused on the likes. We're becoming so focused on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and now Clubhouse and all of these pieces of technology that we're losing the human connection. We're losing empathy, we're losing humanity. And talk about real talk, like what does society look like when we continue to devolve into these beings, right, that can't empathize, that can't relate, that can't communicate with each other. I am not looking forward to that. And programs like this allow us to remain human, right? Like, I don't care how many people are watching. I don't care how many likes we get. Like, I truly don't.
Frankly, I never even really see our statistics.
And
whatever they call the engagements or whatever. I don't. That's not what we're here.
And so to continue to have these real conversations about real things in life almost seems like the balance to the type of stream that you were talking about. We need to have regular everyday people going through regular everyday stuff, not attention seeking, but just having real talk, just communicating, just being, just holding space for people so that they can feel and be heard. right? And the more we do that, the more I hope we lessen the impact of people like this young woman.
Yeah.
But the impact of her actions. Her
Right.
father lost his
And
job.
think about how many people, one of the comments was she could have gotten her father killed, for all we know. I mean, this could have really been, not only did he lose his job, but think about his future and her in what.
Right.
So it's just, yeah, it's almost like, like it's almost like devolution, de-evolution or whatever, right?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. But I think in the same respect, there are a lot of Facebook groups that are very authentic, that are, and as you know, you can find a Facebook group for almost anything.
Right.
But I'm on one for people living bipolar disorder. It's basically, I think it's called bipolar disorder support group.
Mm-hmm.
It has thousands of members, of course. There's, of course, a lot of people. And I'll tell you something, talk about real. It's because I get notifications. So I'll go on, I'll see the post, but I'll also look at other posts. And sometimes I'll comment. I think only once have I actually posted something there, but it is heartbreaking to see individuals suffer.
It is. Now, and I'm in 2 borderline personality disorder groups, and I don't know how many of them there are, but I don't go in there at all, man. I just, every once in a while, a notification will pop up, or I'll be scrolling, and there'll be an update from somebody, and it's heartbreaking, right? And I see the pain that people are going through, and there's nothing I can do to help them, right? Or I see myself, I see, my journey, like that was me saying those things, feeling those feelings.
Yeah.
And it is difficult, not from the sense of having the reminder, but that part doesn't, bother me. I believe it motivates me to continue on my journey to be healthy. But so many people are hurting.
Yeah.
And they're working hard and trying to break through and get out of, their current episode or chapter, in their life. And then you see people that are just, that don't care, right? That simply don't care. And here you have all these people that are just trying to live and be healthy, right? And then you've got these other folks who take joy and seeing folks suffer. It's tough out there.
I don't know. For me, I do look at it. Like I said, I'll see a notification, but I'll look at some of the other posts, and occasionally, like I said, I will actually even comment. And the ones a lot of times I comment on, not all times, but are to give people a little bit of hope. And for me, my perspective comes from the 12-step model of basically, like, we're here to offer hope, to offer help, and to share our, well, like I said, share our experience, strength, and hope. That's what we say in the program. And if I'm able to even just put a comment down, and it doesn't have to be the person who wrote the post. It could be someone, because I've had other people say, "Oh, well, how'd you do this or that?" I think I almost feel, and like I said, I'm not on all the time, but I feel almost compelled every once in a while to say something. It's like the idea, and we've talked about this idea before about the starfish, right? You have the little kid throwing the starfish in the ocean. The old man walks up and says, "Oh, what are you doing? You're not going to save them all." And the kid says, "Well, I just saved that one," kind of thing, right? You never know. And you and I talked about this. We talked about this last week.
Yeah.
You never know who is going to get that message, when they're going to hear it, and how it's going to impact them. So the way I look at it, when I throw a comment out there or whatever, you never know who's reading it, and it could be that one thing to get that person to that one moment, to keep them going that one more day, like that. Because I'll put it this way: as you and I both know, being suicide survivors, if I'd had a mechanism in place
for someone to perhaps reach out when I was such a difficult place, like I was, perhaps I wouldn't have taken that path. Now, it's easy to say now in retrospect, but when I think about it, would I have appreciated if there was someone, say, like if I were to go back and visit my younger self and step in and say something or do something, I'd appreciate that. But I didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
I had nobody. I had counselors. My family didn't. You know what's really interesting, Kelly? This is amazing. So of course, through therapy and everything and all that, I've thought a lot about, and of course, we talk about mental health in the African American community and the stigma. You know what's interesting? Now, I went through my major stuff through the ages of, say, 18 and, 25 or so. Those were my really rough years. And even a little bit after that was tough. But in those years, despite how bad things got, we never really talked about it at home. It was almost like, it was like the elephant in the room. Even my worst. Now, mind you, the addiction stuff, the using stuff, my mom would, of course, a couple times she caught me, whatever. Like that was not the good scene. But that's different. But the mental illness, it was never spoken of. And I think about that now, and of course we know that's not uncommon.
Right.
But I think about that now, and I realize that, and I'm not blaming, because it's not about blaming. It's just the culture, and I think it's the fact that, I know for her, I know I'm kind of talking, but I think it was very painful for her to see this, you see me go through these things. I know it was, it had to have been, right? I'm her only son, adopted, and then, she put all this her love and time and energy into, and then this it kind of just crumbles at her feet. So, and I know it was really hard for her to live through, but fortunately, I got through the other side, and she saw me on the upswing. So that's the happy ending. But it wasn't easy for a lot of years there. A lot of years it was rough.
And so that's one of the reasons why we do what we do, right? Because a lot of people don't know what to say. They don't realize that they're not alone. So many folks are living their lives with these elephants that they're dragging with them. Yeah. And they don't know how to get help. They don't know how to ask for help. They don't know that help is available. And they don't have a place to just hear two people talk about real life. Yeah. Right? With no holds barred. There's no topic really off limits. There is nothing that we are ashamed to talk about. It may not be a good day for a certain conversation, but that's us in our recovery, right? And next week, it's perfectly fine, right? That's also, what it's like. But that really is the reason why Real Talk exists, because a lot of people aren't having real conversations. And this is a place that I believe people can come to be able to just have real talk.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to Annette Pender. Annette is the publisher of Buffalo Healthy Living magazine.
Yes, she is.
And she her television program Buffalo Hometown Health Connection, rather, on WBBZ. I was a guest. Actually aired tonight. We taped it this past Friday, and we talked about bipolar disorder. We talked about the Community Health Center Buffalo Mental Health First Aid Program. We talked about the Erie County Anti-Civic Coalition. And Samantha Latcha, that's right, her last name, was a really great host, and really, we kind of talked about some things. And there's only so much you can fit into the, say, 26, 27 minutes. But the thing that I really appreciate about these opportunities is to speak out, as you do too. We both have. And I think the fact that when you do that, like you said, you never know who's going to hear it and who's going to see it.
Right.
And you know, and as I'm sure, Kelly, you hear it too. People say, "Oh, it's so courageous to say these things," and I don't know. It's just part of what we do. You know, I mean, we've been,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We just kind of put ourselves out there, take a risk, but now it's just part of our message. And I think the fact that, and I'm not patting ourselves in the back, but I will say though, the fact that we, you know, you and I, amongst others, we're not the only ones, but amongst others, you know, locally, but especially as people of color who have come out and speak about these things, I like to think it's helped to maybe break some of that stigma.
Oh, for sure. And there's no way to really quantify the impact, right? Because we don't know what what conversation happens because of another conversation, or, you know, simply by, you know, someone being kind to someone else, and that stemmed from something that, you know, occurred on one of our real talks or TV show or panel discussion or, you know, workshop. Right. There's no way to really gauge that impact. But, you know, when you are working and living on mission, right, and you are doing the work that you're called to do, that is the impact, you know, in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I don't see what we do necessarily as brave. I believe that we have been gifted with the ability to share our stories in this way. Other people, you know, can hug, other people can listen, other people can research, you know, some folks write, some folks cook, some folks, you know, everyone has a way to reach another person. And I think the more that we celebrate the diversity of love and diversity of caring, the more people will be likely to, I would say, work in that space, but be comfortable, you know, sharing and being who they are,
right,
in that space. I don't believe that everyone is meant to share their stories.
Oh, I agree. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I wholeheartedly agree, because I think it is a very private thing.
Yeah.
When you get down to it, I never, you know, a lot of times you get, and I'm sure you've had the question, I'm going for this job. Should I say anything about my mental health condition? And you know, 99 times out of 100, I say, no, don't say anything. And they can't ask you.
Right.
Right. You know, it's like, you know, I don't know. I think because of the fact that, yeah, you know, we know that there's, you know, laws that, you know, Americans with Disability Act and so forth that protect people, doesn't mean that that doesn't happen anyway. Discrimination doesn't happen. We know it happens.
Right, it does.
You know, I've had it happen. It was done through a matter of a performance evaluation, even though there was no issue, but that was how it was used to encourage me to leave nicely, and I did, and it worked out incredibly. But no, it did. But the point I'm making is that there's ways, and we know that there's ways that you can be removed.
Right.
And so, and I'll be honest, for the work I do, obviously, I mean, I got into the field working in addictions in 1992, and from day one, they knew I was in recovery from addiction. And I think, honestly, within a month, I told my boss I had bipolar disorder. And of course, being in the behavioral health field, fortunately, they didn't have a problem with that. So I've been incredibly fortunate. The only time I didn't really get into it was when I worked in higher ed. I never told anybody there until I was at Damon. Of course, that's when I let the cat out of the bag, but I kind of flew under the radar in those years for that reason, like I just said, because of stigma. And you never know what people want to say. That kind of thing.
You don't. And I actually have just gotten to the point where I actually say the words borderline personality disorder. Like honestly, in the last couple of months, usually I just stick with depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
I think on my website it still says depression and anxiety, because those are two very real diagnoses, conditions that I live with. But overarching, it's the borderline personality disorder. But even saying those words, people are like,
yeah, it conjures up. What was that movie with Glenn Close? Fatal Attraction or something, right?
yeah,
Like really, that's what people, because that's the stigma and the myth of mental illness, that people are violent or
right,
whatever, or just
right.
unstable. Like, so like the thing we do in
Yeah.
mental first aid, like you took the program, what words come to mind when you think of mental illness? Crazy, nuts, all these negative words, right? And that's the problem that we deal with society, that why so many people don't talk when they, when
Right.
they want to.
And even, when you're having a bad day and it is you exhibit a reaction that is typical for the situation, and the immediate response is, oh, I
Right.
think that's actually, no, a brick was just dropped on my toe. Like
Right.
like the natural reaction would be for someone to respond in the way in which I'm responding, or discounting the merit of my words because, oh, maybe this is just a part of her,
Yeah.
No, it's because what I'm saying is legit, and it has nothing to do with the condition with which I live. But that is why we have Real Talk.
Exactly.
And so it is 9:01, but
first
about next week.
Yes, right. So you go ahead.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So next week, everyone, we are going to be taking your questions live here on Real Talk with Kelly and Karl. So we are going to, put up some posts and remind you guys to tune in. We are going to allow you to run the conversation. We want to know what you want to talk about. We have the technology now where the comments are popping up and we don't have to dig through our phones. Everything is right in front of us. So we've always really wanted to be able to have conversations like this, but we just didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle together. Well, we do now. So next week, Wednesday at 8:30, when we go live, we'll be going live, taking your questions right here in the comment section. You can message us in the Real Talk page or individually, but the Real Talk page is probably best. That way we both get it. If you have some questions in advance that pop up and you want to make sure that we get to them.
Right.
Do you want to add anything?
No, that's perfect.
Thanks. So that's coming next week, guys. So Real Talk will not only be live, but it will be live and direct, based upon your questions and your comments. We want to make sure that, we've always, I think, kind of seen this as a community conversation. We just haven't been able to put everything in place for it to turn out the way we want. So spread the word, guys. Let folks know. And there's also the Buffalo Center for Health Equity has a conversation coming up. They partnered with the city of Buffalo and HCP on a series of conversations around COVID-19 and community understanding. The NAACP has another workshop in this series coming up in 2 weeks. We'll have more information on that one next week, but hang around, come back, check out the comments, check out the page, and we will try and keep you guys all up to date on the happenings in the area. Before we give out our resources, you got anything else you want to make sure folks?
I'm actually typing something as we speak right now into the comments section.
Okay, awesome.
I can't type and talk at the same time, so I'm going to talk and then I'm going to keep typing. So I'm not that talented. So next Wednesday from noon to 1, the Community Health Center of Buffalo is offering a free 1-hour training called What You Need to Know. And it is basically 1 hour mental health, very basic mental health training, covers the basic diagnoses and risk factors and things of that sort. Talks a little bit about suicide and substance use abuse. And so that's noon to 1. I have in the comments, I've tagged the community health center. So you should be able to go to the community health center page to get more information. If you know, in fact, you can always, I'll put in my I have a CHCB Community Health Center Buffalo email address. So I'll put that in there too. If you're interested in signing up, you can just email me and we'll make sure you get signed up for it. We'll be sending out a link Friday for the program. And also there's an incentive that if you participate, you get a $10 Target gift card. Thanks, Uncle Sam, because it's sponsored by the Substance Use Mental Health Services Administration.
Okay, wonderful.
So we actually have a little incentive for people to join.
So Carl's going to put that information in the comments.
Yep.
We would also love for you to like the Real Talk with Kelly and Karl page. Go over and like Shallow Horn Consulting, and go over and like the Front Seat Life. Subscribe, get the notifications, all that stuff. Stay in the loop so that when we go live or we have posts and info that we think is good for you guys to know about. We don't just randomly share, junk. We put good stuff on these pages. We want to make sure that you guys get that. So next week, we'll be live taking your questions right here, Real Talk with Kelly and Karl. So these gloves are, compression gloves for my arthritic fingers. So that's what these guys are. So I will try and have hands that feel a little better next week, and
I hope so.
have on my great gloves.
So what numbers you got for us?
If you let's start with experiencing a medical emergency. We have a lot of people that are not going to the emergency room right now or even calling their doctors. But if you are experiencing a medical emergency, please head to your nearest emergency room or call 911. We really want you to get the medical care that you need and not delay. If you are in need of information like resources, you don't quite know where to go, you have questions and you don't know who to call, you can dial 211 on your phone or 211 in your browser and do a keyword search on the types of services you're looking for. And that is nationwide. It's not limited just to Buffalo and Western New York. You can do keyword and zip code or city and state, and it will give you the info that you are looking for. Information on, elderly support, caregivers, mental health, education, daycare, human resource or human services, social services. Any question you have, any type of service you're looking for, 211 is your place to go for that. The New York State New York State Project Hope is a COVID-19 emotional support helpline, and you can call them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, perhaps.
I think so.
Their number is 1-844-863-9314. That's the New York Project Hope Emotional Support Helpline. It's confidential, it's free, and so again, we encourage you to take advantage of all of these resources. Karl?
And if you find yourself in a crisis where you feel you may be at risk of taking your life, we feel very seriously that suicide is preventable and that feelings do pass. So please call Crisis Services of Erie County. The number is 834-3131. The number for Crisis Services of Niagara County is 716-285-3515. And the number you can text is help to 741-741 for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-TALK.
Until next week, when we'll be taking your questions live right here with Real Talk and Kelly and Karl. I am Kelly Marie Wolford from the Front Seat Life, and
I'm Karl Shallowhorn from Shallowhorn Consulting.
Be the light.
Be well.